workers here trying to take out a protest rally against Mamata Banerjee's decision to drag her feet over reduction of fuel prices.
पेट्रोल की दाम को कमाने के लिए जो आंदोलन हुआ था और आज का दिन में ये दिखाई दे रहा है कि बंगाल का जो सीएम है वो चुपचाप बैठे, यहाँ का गवर्नमेंट जो है वो चुपचाप बैठा है.
Without any increase of crude oil in the international market, the government of India has unnecessarily levied the cess on petrol and diesel, burdening the pockets of the poor people, middle class people.
LDF government is responsible, answerable to the public feeling, and take a decision in accordance.
Hello everyone, you're watching News Epicenter with me, Maria Shakil, this Monday. On the road to 2022 election battle, the war over fuel prices continues across the country. Beyond tweets and statements, the war has shifted now to the streets. The BJP protested in West Bengal, demanding that the ruling TMC government follow other BJP-ruled states and cut VAT. While the Congress protested in Kerala against the LDF, demanding the same. However, at the same time, poll-bound Punjab is the only Congress-ruled state which has cut VAT. But Congress states like Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh have taken no action on this subject. The global fuel prices have risen in the past few months from over $63 a barrel in April this year to over $82 a barrel in October. Now, just a few days back, the centre cut excise on petrol by 5 rupees and diesel by 10 rupees to provide much-needed relief to the common man, the Aam Aadmi. But the opposition says it is not enough, calling it an excuse to blame global factors when immediate relief can be provided with deeper cuts. But while the BJP is taking the lead in the battle of optics and slashing VAT in its states, is the Congress then guilty of hypocrisy by demanding VAT get cut in one state only, slashing it only in a poll-bound state, but taking no such action in other states? Also, what's really stopping other opposition-ruled states from doing so, if delivering relief to the common man is the end game? So the question that I'm asking on News Epicenter this evening is, who is truly fueling politics? Joining me on the show, Nikun Sagi is a former chairman, Automotive Skill Development Council. We have R.S. Pandey, former Secretary, Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. Professor Om Prakash Mishra is the spokesperson of the TMC. Gopal Krishna Agarwal, spokesperson of the BJP. Shama Mohammed representing the Congress. Gopal Agarwal, the opposition's argument is that this reduction in fuel prices is a case of too little, too late. You have also shifted the onus of cutting VAT on states, which they are certainly not happy about, particularly not the non-BJP ruled states. So the question now is the centre then shirking its own responsibility?
Maria, I had been on your show earlier also on the fuel prices. That point of time, I had been telling that it is an informed choice of our government that we cannot cut the fuel prices earlier. Now the time has come when the GST collection has risen quite handsomely. Direct tax collection was also rising. The economy, all the macroeconomic parameters are on the positive domain. Global sentiment and the domestic sentiment on consumer demand, everything, every parameter, PMI, IIP, PLI in schemes, export figures, manufacturing export, agriculture export, FDI, stock market, all signals point towards a healthy recovery, and the stimulus package with the government had announced there are resource generation for this. So now it was the informed choice that we have cut the fuel prices. Here is the time when the effect of fuel price cut will further boost the whole economy, and we have seen just now 2-3 days you will see the amount of buying, consumption demand, consumer demand, the rush in the market shows that our decisions of informed choice at the right time
Okay.
was very correct.
Okay.
Now, last point I want to tell you is,
Go ahead.
the opposition was continuously shouting, reduce the fuel price, excise on the fuel prices by the central government, then we will do it. Then they said that reduce the fuel prices, VAT on from the states government, BJP ruled state, then we will do it. Now both have done. If the BJP ruled states can do it, the center can do it. UP see the reduction of about 20 rupees a liter, then why opposition is now shying it?
Yes, so
They
Punjab
have to
has
walk
done
the
it.
talk.
Punjab has done it. Why not other Congress ruled states? Shama, Rajasthan at 36% VAT on petrol and fixed charge of 1500 rupees per 1000 litres has one of the highest levies across states on fuel prices. Will you walk the talk and reduce the taxes?
First and foremost, Maria, I want to know certain things from Gopal Krishna Agarwal. In 2020, in May, when the oil price per barrel was $23 a barrel, why did we, the BJP government, increase the excise duty by rupees 16 for diesel and by rupees 12 for petrol? That's by 13 for petrol. Why did they do it? At that time, the corona had just, the corona, COVID, whatever, just started. And why was there such a huge increase, which led to 19 rupees, the excise duty at that point of time for petrol, and the diesel 15 rupees. So why such a high increase? And then from that time to this year, 2021, they increased it again to 31 and 32 respectively. 31 being diesel and 32 being. So why the rise in excise duty is something which they need to explain to us. Now, when they do something, they reduce hardly any excise duty. It's $83 a barrel. He's right. But what are we paying? 105 for petrol. When in 2014, it was $108 a barrel. The petrol price was 71
Shama,
and diesel was 57.
if Punjab can do it, then why not other Congress ruled states?
Can I speak, for heaven's sake? 9.2, the excise. Let the audience know the truth. At that point in 2014, the excise duty was 9.2 for petrol and 3.4 for diesel. If the UPA government could do it then, when the price of petrol or oil was $108 a barrel, why can't the government reduce more the excise duty? Why did they increase it? What was the reason they increased this huge amount? And
Okay, Shama, please answer my question. If Punjab can do it, then why not other Congress ruled states?
Every state has their own revenue, how they get their revenue. It is the prerogative of the chief minister. All right?
Okay,
I'm not
okay.
the chief minister.
Okay,
of the
fine.
state. So let me tell you that.
Professor
So,
Mishra,
and
there is another state, and this is the TMC ruled, your party ruled Bengal. Help us understand, why is cutting VAT so difficult for you? Is it because you realize that Mamata Banerjee has just come to power and you need not really bring that much needed relief for the people or the citizens of your state, because you have, of course, won the state only recently?
Thank you very much. In fact, I would like to remind everyone, all the panelists as well as the audience of this national channel, that today is the Black Day. On 8th November 2016, this day in 2016, the biggest scam of the century in the name of Notebandi and demonetization was carried out, which actually devastated the foundational base of Indian economy. Secondly, to the question that you have raised,
Yes.
we do know very well that what was the level, price level at the international market when the NDA had come to power, and in what way increased taxes has been borne out by the common people. When people have been suffering and we have been demanding that the central government should take corrective steps, nothing was done. But thanks to Mr. Jairam of the BJP of Himachal Pradesh, that the central government finally has now moved, because they have been dealt with a very severe political blow in Himachal Pradesh.
Okay.
But then, as you know, that when we go to a market, I'll just complete. When we go to market, how the customers are fooled. You increase the price by 40% and then you decrease it by 10%, and that way you are showing
so that
some
point
sort of a
about
magnanimity. That is not the case.
is not
so
being considerable enough by the center. I'm going to take that to Gopal Agarwal, but let me bring the experts now. Mr. Pandey, since you have served as a secretary in the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, for the benefit of our viewers, help us understand the fine prints. The price build-up of domestic petroleum products such as petrol and diesel essentially include three major components. First, the base price of the product. Second, the taxes or duties levied by the center. And then third is the duties or taxes levied by the state. Then when center cuts excise, what should the states do so that the end user in fact benefits?
Well, the prices had reached very, very high level, and there is certainly some relief to the consumer that 5 rupees in petrol and 10 rupees in diesel per litre excise duty has been reduced by the government of India. But even then, in many of these states, including the states where the sales tax rate has been sliced down the last few days, the prices remain at the level beyond 100. This is very, very high. If you look at last 1 month, the increase was about 8 rupees in the price of petrol as well as diesel. If you look at the last 1 year, the increase has been about 30 rupees each. No country around India has this level of price even after the reductions. So it still remains high. Now the point is, who should reduce how much?
Yes.
Well, how much the central government has earned and how much the state governments have earned. If you look at 2014-15 and 2021-22, in these 6 years, the central government's coffers have gone up from about 1 lakh crore in 2014-15 to 3,72,000 crore in 2021-22. So the central government's revenues out of excise on these products have gone up about 3.76 times. Look at the state governments. State governments were earning about 1,34,000 crore in 2014-15 and in 2021-22 their revenues have gone up to about 10,000 crores. So they have got their revenues up by about 1.5 times. But the revenues have gone up of the state governments also, of the central government also, and both should reduce. Now, central government increased excise duty very, very high level last year, 13 rupees and 16 rupees. Some of the state governments have also raised the sales tax. Now, both should reduce. If you look at the price increase, you mentioned in your opening remarks that it has gone up from about $63 in April to over $80 now. Now, this itself amounts to $20 increase per barrel. If you convert it into per litre, it's about 9 rupees. And if on an average, if the
Mr.
state
Pandey,
government
then in that case, who should take the bigger burden?
Yes.
If the center is saying that the states are doing politics and the states, the non-BJP ruled states largely, they are of the opinion that the center should cut excise, who do you think is right in their view?
Well, central government has earned more, therefore it should reduce more. Now all are playing politics. Central government also has reduced only after the results of these 30 by-elections. Where was central government earlier? The demand was already there. The prices were already up. Now the state governments also, some state governments have reduced. Why other state governments are also not reducing? They have also earned because of the rise in crude prices. I said about this year itself, about 9 rupees per litre. If you take 30% rate, then at least 3 rupees, 4 rupees cut is warranted in diesel as well as petrol. The states where duty is higher, there the cut should be a little more. So politics is there, but I think all of us should think of the common man and the economy and the inflation.
Before I go back to the politicians, Nikun Sanghi, how far are the states justified in arguing that the fuel pricing must be kept out of the purview of GST, especially since taxes levied by the states are, unlike centre's excise, which is fixed and increases as per the input cost, as you know, as a means to control inflation. I'm just trying to understand this entire pricing and who is right in their purview here, because Mr. Pandey is of the opinion that the centre should be cutting perhaps more, and the states are also not doing their part, which are largely the non-BJP ruled states here. Go ahead.
So, like I said yesterday, I would refuse to get drawn into the politics of pricing. But I think it is important for everybody to understand that mobility is a basic right of a citizen of India.
Yes.
And what we are robbing the citizen of India by increasing fuel prices in the interest of revenue, both state and the center, we are actually depriving him of mobility, which is required, which is a must for his education, which is a must for his job, which is a must for his business. And I think it is upon all political parties to get together and see how the common man gets relief from these exceptionally high fuel prices, and specifically the fuel prices having gone up in the last 1 year. I think 30 rupees a litre increase is definitely unjustified. And both the center and the state, I think both are committed to the citizens, whether they are going to polls, whether they're not going to polls. Mobility is a basic need of the citizen of India, and both the center and the state should jointly come together, get out of politics, and see how common man gets relief out of this exceptionally high fuel prices in India.
Okay. Gopal Agarwal, the point being made by both Om Prakash Mishra and Shama Mohammed is that the centre hasn't done enough. Let me give you some example. Delhi, for instance, has demanded that the centre effects a deeper cut in excise because their budgets probably do not allow them to reduce state levies. How does centre hope to bring relief for people who are in opposition ruled states?
Maria, you should understand what Delhi government is doing, subsidizing water and electricity. From where they are getting it? They are getting it from the budget. So when I said that it is an informed choice, and I am accepting that point of time we needed resources for fiscal stimulus, for welfare schemes, for the fighting COVID, vaccination, etc. Therefore, totally we have to understand that the government choose to take taxes from fuel and other things, reduce direct taxes and reduce indirect tax. GST has been under GST, indirect tax has reduced from 28 to 30% to 18% maximum. 10% reduction in all items. Several items are having GST 0% and 5%. Food and other consumable for the poor sections has GST only 0% or 5%. So we have done this because of the right decision. Now the revenue has increased, direct and indirect.
So will you ensure it? Will the government will the centre then ensure a bigger cut? Is what the opposition ruled states are demanding.
No, but that demand will never go. But they should also start. We have started reducing.
Okay.
When the state fact is that the centre has reduced, and they were asking centre to take a step first.
Fine.
Now,
let me ask Shama and both Om Prakash Mishra. Shama and Om Prakash Mishra, I have exactly one minute for both of you. Shama, the BJP makes this argument, as you heard, that the centre controls just 30% of the fuel pricing, while the states control the rest 30%, while the big chunk of 40% is the input cost, which is beyond their control. Then shouldn't the states also do their part?
Listen to me. He kept explaining right. He said, we had physical reasons, there was COVID and everything. The increase which they did, the 16 rupees and 13 rupees last year, like I mentioned, was in May 2020 when the oil was $23 a barrel. What sort of nonsense is he talking? Then he says we need it for COVID vaccinations. 35,000 crore was kept aside in this time's budget for COVID vaccinations. Then if the Prime Minister of India really had a heart, he would say, you know what, I'm not going ahead with a Central Vista project. I do not want to do it. I don't want a Mahal.
Well, where does the Central Vista come in here?
You have to stop that. He says there's no money. 20,000 crore can be cut immediately and stopped. The project should have been stopped and should have done later. Okay. That is the thing. You don't want to
Professor Mishra, I exactly have 30 seconds for you. Go ahead.
The other reason, corporate tax has been cut and you increase the poor people.
Shama, once again.
It's 800 rupees.
Okay, Professor
Mishra.
And 400 rupees you get gas prices.
Professor Mishra.
I know I don't have much of a time. I know there is not much of a time. Thank you very much, Mr. Pandey, for a rational and a reasonable contribution to this debate. On behalf of the Trinamool Congress, I would like to mention that this stunt that the central government has pulled, we are going to appreciate that if after the elections to the 5 states, which if the after the elections, if the BJP is going to continue with the lessening of the price that they had promised. Number one. And secondly, how come that now the Prime Minister is going to stop the ration? Our Member of Parliament has written. So therefore, the central government has to reduce much more than the state
Professor
government.
Mishra, thank you so much. Mohammed Gopal Agarwal, R.S. Pandey and Nikun Sanghi, thank you so much for joining us. And amidst this economic flux, I spoke to Chief Economic Advisor K.V. Subramaniam, who says the rise global crude oil prices is the main reason the Aam Aadmi is feeling the pinch, adding that no country has been spared. He says the centre and some states have been proactive in delivering relief with the tools in their ambit. Listen in. The central government has recently slashed excise on petrol and diesel by ₹5 and 10 respectively. The opposition is not happy and they are arguing that it is a case of too little too late, and they are also saying that the onus now of reducing the price has been shifted to states. How do you defend this?
If you look at the increase in the in the price of petrol and diesel, that happened primarily because of the significant rise in crude oil prices, number one. Number two, if you look at the taxes itself, and excise duties, value-added taxes, etc., the contribution of both center and states is actually non-trivial. Both of them, contribute significantly. And after the reduction by the center, now 22 other states have followed suit. I think it is easy to see that, but for the center taking that move, the states would not have actually followed suit. So, this was something that was initiated by the center. The third point that is extremely important for us to remember is that, if you look internationally, and I've actually looked at the data, take UK, Japan, Germany, the Euro area, every country has, if you take a proportion of the final price that you pay at the gas station, the taxes are in excess of 50 to 60%. And India now, after having slashed these, is actually, is looking, much better than these. And this is part of the carbon tax that, economies across the world are putting. The price rise happened because of the increase in the crude oil prices. And India was not an exception in putting these taxes, which we have since reduced and thereby giving, benefit to the middle class consumer. If you take the excise duty cut itself, it is a fact in India that about half of retail inflation comes from food inflation. And even if you take into account second round effects through the cost push inflation from higher transportation costs because of diesel and petrol, the overall contribution to CPI inflation of petrol and diesel is of the order of 6 or 7%, contrast to that 50%.
Shifting focus to another story now, the Mumbai police have issued a high alert for all entry and exit points after a security alarm near Antilla. Police are checking CCTV visuals from the spot where 2 suspects inquired about Antilla's address. Cops have set up checkpoints at 5 places from Azad Maidan police station to Antilla. This after the Mumbai police received a call from a taxi driver saying that 2 people carrying a bag in hand were asking him about Antilla's address. Vinaya Deshpande is joining me live. Vinaya, give us the details.
Well, as of now, Maria, the police are still questioning the taxi driver and trying to get details from him about the several aspects of the vehicle which approached this taxi driver. Now, remember, this taxi driver said that at around 1 p.m. today at the Kila Court Junction, a silver-colored WagonR approached him and the driver asked him the approach road towards Antilla. Now, he said that the duo looked suspicious, the passenger as well as the driver, and that is why as soon as that car left, he called up the police control room. The police control room in return directed him to the nearest police station for recording of his statement. Right now the police are still getting details and questioning him. Another round of questioning is soon set to begin, even as the Mumbai police say that Nakabandi has been put up in place at least 5 locations in South Mumbai, and that all the entry-exit points of Mumbai have been put on high alert. The security outside Antalya is as usual, because Mumbai police sources say that anyway Antalya is a high security area. We saw how several private security personnel were also present outside Antalya. As of now, the Mumbai police in the process of verifying the leads given by the taxi driver, who claimed that 2 suspicious looking persons approached him asking for the approach road to Antalya. As of now, not only are Mumbai police questioning the driver further, but also they are screening the CCTV footage at several arterial junctions of Mumbai, specifically South Mumbai, because till now there has been no success in getting the number plate associated with any of the owners so far.
All right, Vinay Deshpande, thank you so much for tracking that story and giving us all the details. That's all from me. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll be seeing you tomorrow.